Do you want to realistically limit your consumption? With the rise of polluting shops like Shein and Temu, it's no secret that we are consuming far more than our planet can handle. That's why I'm really excited by a new movement, something that people are calling the underconsumption core trend. Living in our consumer-driven world, breaking away from overconsumption can feel impossible. Ads are everywhere telling us that we need to buy more to feel happier, to feel more fulfilled. But let's be honest, that's not the solution. Hi, I'm Charlie. I have spent the past 6 years trying to live as sustainable as possible, and I'm here to help you do the same without any judgment or unrealistic expectations. So if you're into realistic sustainability, don't forget to subscribe for more eco content. Today, I want to share 5 simple actions you can take to start consuming less right now. So let's get into it. First up, avoid trends. In fashion, we used to have 4 different seasons, but that doesn't really exist anymore. Shops are bringing out new trends all of the time. The best thing that you can do is really find your own style rather than following these trends. Trends and last season's clothes become pretty uncool very quickly, especially if you find that they don't really suit you. So I find it's much better to find your own style, build your own capsule wardrobe where you have multiple pieces of clothing that go with one another. And that way you'll stop following those trends and stop consuming so much, especially when you don't need it. Other trends like the Stanley Cup took off, where people started by choosing an eco alternative of a reusable cup, but then as they brought out more and more colours, people started purchasing the colours to match their outfits, or they wanted the limited edition version. If you avoid those trends and you just stick with that reusable water bottle that you've had for years that is past looking its best, that is the most sustainable option. So just rethink whether you really want to take part in that trend, if it's something that you need and want, or if you're actually fine with what you already have. Mend when things are broken. It's surprising how many things get thrown away into landfill when there's something slightly wrong with them. There's a rip in your t-shirt, a button missing, a battery doesn't work anymore in an electrical appliance, and things just get tossed out. Instead, one way to really limit your consumption is by actively repairing things that are broken. For example, I've got a dog lead that I left on the top of the car and then drove off, and it was run over by another car. The moral of the story though is to mend something that is broken. So a clip had broken, and instead we found a tiny little stick, which now it's been replaced with a pencil, just to fit in that tiny bit where it was broken and mend it that way. I'm sure there would have been a better way to mend it, but this works, and we've been using it for months and months since it was originally broken. You can always look to replace batteries in things like watches by taking it to a jeweler's, or in any other electrical appliances, just taking time to find what the problem is and fixing it that way. I had a thermometer that's battery had run out, and rather than just purchasing a new one, I found the correct little round battery that fit in there and replaced it that way. We can really stop consuming so much and caring more for the things that we have if we repair them. Thrift instead of buying new. We've got enough clothing on this planet for 6 generations. And that's not only clothing, that's possessions too. Recently somebody told me that if we don't buy anything new, there won't be anything to buy secondhand. But if you visit charity shops, thrift stores, you'll see just how much is already in existence. And that's the stuff that they're able to sell. There are so many books, so many games, so many clothes that we could be wearing again and again. We don't need to be purchasing new. So I find the best thing to do is to visit a thrift store or go online to any of the apps like Depop or Vinted, eBay, and have a look there first before you go to look to buy something new. You can even do that for furniture. So much of the furniture in my house is secondhand by going again to specialised charity shops that Focus on furniture. Sometimes you can go to big warehouses that are full of secondhand furniture, or looking on Facebook Marketplace is a really good one for furniture as well. Just looking there first before purchasing new, because some of the things you can find there are basically brand new anyway. It also really helps to change where you are looking for clothes or possessions. Often we're distracted by emails that we receive from brands or clothing apps, always looking for the newest releases and making sure that we're on top of trends. But one way to really help you to limit your consumption is to delete all of those things. So delete those apps, unsubscribe from emails, and then you'll avoid seeing any of those items in the first place, leading you to want to buy them. It's just little things that you can do that can really help to limit your overconsumption. Upcycle or repurpose. Similarly to mending our things, you can always find a new life for something. Sometimes things are beyond repair and you can't use them for their original use, but that doesn't mean that they need to go into landfill. For example, I changed this football that had been broken by my sister's dog, Betty, so it was beyond repair. It had a big gash in it, it couldn't just be pumped up. We turned that into a plant pot. Something that to some people might be ugly, but now has a new lease of life and a story behind it. Clothing, for example, is a really good one that can be given a new life by being turned into rags. So firstly, obviously try to mend your clothing, but if it is beyond repair and full of holes, you can always turn them into rags for cleaning. I love cutting these up and keeping them under the sink instead of using paper towels, or if you have really dirty, oily jobs, they're a really good material to use as well. You can even use clothes to stuff pillows or make your own DIY projects. There's so much that can be done with fabric before it just gets thrown into landfill. Other great ones are jars or produce containers. Those are really great for storing other things, be it a new pencil pot or storing dry food from going to a refill shop, or you can use it to make your own jam or any preserving. Those are really great things to always have on hand as a container, and is upcycling something that already existed rather than just putting it into the glass recycling. There are so many different ways to repurpose and upcycle different things. You just need to think a little bit outside of the box as to what that particular item could be used for. Only buy what you need. A big part of overconsumption are these hauls that you see on social media with people purchasing a huge amount of clothing, even saying that they can't even remember what they've ordered, and then doing a try on. It's sort of become part of our culture, and that's very embedded in overconsumption. Effectively, that is buying things that we don't need or haven't thought about. If you can't remember what you've even purchased, then really that is overconsuming and purchasing potentially what you really didn't need. The best way to avoid this, I find, is by writing a list before you go shopping. That can even be just when you're browsing online, writing a list, looking at your wardrobe, deciding what you need before you start looking. That will really help to avoid impulse buying as well. I know I've been guilty of that in the past, but if you have a list that you can come back to, I often find that that stops me from purchasing anything that I really didn't need. Another thing that helps me with impulse purchasing is by looking at that item, I found it, I really like it, and then storing it somewhere in my notes app on my phone and then coming back to it. So I won't purchase it immediately. I'll think about it for probably a few weeks, and if in a month or 6 weeks time I still want that item, that's when I'll purchase it. Often I actually find that I don't want it anymore after that amount of time has passed, but it really helps to think about whether I really need that item rather than if it's just something that I want in the moment. Outside of clothing, it also really helps to limit the amount of skincare, toiletries that you're purchasing at one time. What I find is that I just purchase one set of skincare and I will use that until it's almost finished before purchasing a new one. You don't need your bathroom cupboard full of little different pots that you use for different things. It's good to just have a small amount of something and use it until it's completely gone. Somebody also recently recommended to me, and I love this idea, instead of retail therapy being purchasing clothing, do retail therapy when you go food shopping. Food shopping can be just as much fun as going to buy clothing, but this will be something that you will consume and likely will be much cheaper than an item of clothing. You can limit your food shop to just purchasing one particular food item. It might be a new packet of biscuits or crisps or anything like that, something in the freezer section that you haven't tried before and you want to give yourself a little bit of retail therapy without breaking the bank. That I found is such a great idea and will help give you that buzz without you purchasing another item of clothing. Which of these tips did you find the most helpful, and do you have any extra tips that you can share? Let me know in the comments. And if you're interested in more tips for living sustainably, check out my video on how to start your sustainability journey. Until next time.